Hi, and welcome to the Tap Intuit podcast, where each week I have the sincere pleasure of introducing a wellness professional operating in their area of genius. This week's no different. I'm here with Brittney Muñoz. Brittney is the owner-founder of Brittney Fusion, and I am just so excited to get to learn more about you today, Brittney.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored.
Thank you for being here. I've seen you on socials. I've heard about you through a mutual friend, Janine, and I was just really excited when I started exploring your rich background. And before we started, you told me that your handle on socials is different than your online brand.
Yeah.
What's your tag on Insta?
It's Brittney Fusion Trauma Yoga on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And my website is brittneyfusion.com.
Before we dive into what you're doing locally and online, let's talk about how you even landed here in Colorado.
We moved out here, we being me and my spouse and my two daughters, 4 years ago in 2022. It's kind of a unique story. I had read the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey about a year, maybe a year and a half prior, and when it came out, and felt really inspired by some of the stuff he put in the book. He specifically writes about love letters and how he likes to write love letters to cities that he just loves. And in the book, he talks about traveling across the country in an Airstream camper and goes on like this big adventure, and how Colorado summers are like the most golden, beautiful summers. And we had some friends that we grew up with that lived out here. So we consistently saw their videos and pictures on social media of just how amazing it is. And I think we were in the car even on the way to Florida, and I was like, I think we should move to Colorado. And he, of course, was like, what? And so then we came out here, we visited, we went to Breck first and went skiing.
Wow.
And of course, it's just like a magical mountain town. And then came down here to the Springs, and I remember our very first hike was out North Cheyenne Canyon, and just sitting on the side of the mountain, looking out at everything and thinking, I just have to be here. Like it was the day we were leaving, and I was like crying, like almost crying. So I'm like, I don't want to leave. And we went home and we started planning, and we moved here within, I think, a year we were out here. I had been working in the medical field at the time, and I knew when we came out here that I wanted to do a yoga teacher training. So before we even moved out here, I had found Cambio online and just was like, that's where I'm going. That's the place.
I love that. And it's obvious that you have found your home there, because now you're teaching there and you're offering some gentle classes that I've seen, because right now gentle is what I need.
Yes.
Especially when we
yes.
push through in so many other areas.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that offering?
Yeah, I teach gentle Friday nights at 5:45, and then a warm gentle Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. at Cambio, one at their Austin Bluffs location, the other at their Pikes Peak location. And I just love the format of gentle. It's very relaxed. You can kind of make it your own. There's movement. There's a lot of stretching. There's gentle movement. You never ever really have to do a chaturanga. There's maybe one down dog in class. And it just feels really flexible. It feels really easy. A lot of times on Friday nights, I might end with a more restorative pose before, like the rest pose. Saturday mornings, I might ease more into stretching at the beginning of class. I love the flexibility, and I love that when I'm teaching, I get into this natural rhythm of being really grounded and regulated, and I leave feeling very calm. When I used to teach vinyasa and like power vinyasa classes, I left feeling really amped up.
Sure.
And so this just feels more natural for me to teach this style of yoga. And when I'm working with private clients, I think I take on more of that approach to start. And then if they want to build and do more strengthening and add on and do more vinyasa styles, we do that. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's important, I think, before you go into a vinyasa class, even if you don't want to become a yogi, that you learn how to first do the movements with integrity. And gentle is a really nice way to get to know the poses,
Yeah.
as opposed to going into, say, a big box store yoga vinyasa flow and you're getting your butt kicked and you can't even execute the position before you're already in chaturanga to do the next. It's like, what?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I had some wrist things going on for a while. I first started practicing yoga in a hot power class, and it was that. There wasn't any breakdown of the poses, and it wasn't here in Colorado. I think because my form was off, it was hurting my shoulders and my wrists and stuff. So I do love that there's more opportunity, especially at Cambio, to find those classes where you're getting those poses like really given to you in an educational way.
I agree. And I would love to hear what your favorite cue is. Because when I was going through YTT and my yoga teacher, Samantha Hart out of Yoga Home, her signature cue is ribs towards the pelvis, which really makes you think about it. Like if you sink in, take a deep breath, and you focus on moving the rib cage down towards the pelvis, forces you to engage your abs, your root, and it just really changes the postural alignment of almost any position.
Yeah.
Do you have a subtle cue like that that your students are like, oh,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I have lots of them, I'm sure. I don't know about a favorite cue, but I have a favorite pose.
oh, which one?
It's tree pose. And that might sound basic, but I actually went through my whole teacher training being like, I want to teach tree again. I felt bored with it, and I don't know, I just fell in love with it. It's my absolute favorite pose, and one of my private clients that I've taught for the last 2 years, it's now his favorite pose too. And any like day that he doesn't want to do a lot or doesn't feel up to doing maybe a new, more advanced or like a different sequence, he's just like, can we just do tree? And I'm like, yes, of course. I'm never going to say no to tree. So
Right.
that's my favorite. And there's a pose called Ninja Baby. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
I just like it because it's not a trauma-informed pose, so I don't really teach it. I just love the name of it, but it's when you get into child's pose and then you lengthen through one leg while you're still bending the other.
Oh, wow.
And you're like kind of grabbing onto the foot. Yeah, Ninja Baby. But I think as far as cues go, I just try to be really intentional and think about how it feels in my body when I'm teaching it and cue from that, which obviously I didn't do in the beginning of teaching. You're just trying to get the cues out at that point. But
Sure.
now as I grow and I've been doing it longer, yeah, I definitely feel like I, in the moment, just try to, whatever pose they're in. And that's why I like gentle too, because I can talk slower and move slower, and it gives my brain time to be like, okay, let's add this on here. This might sound really like juicy. Like, this is going to give them that feeling. So
Being mindful in the moment is a gift that a yoga teacher almost has to have. And I know that I've heard from several instructors that they'll go into a class and they'll have something in mind. They'll have this whole program and then they'll read the room and they'll scrap the program. We're going to have to do something different today. Do you find that too?
I don't always plan my classes. Sometimes I do. I like to theme, and I like to have my theme ready, and I like to have it tied in with a good playlist. I love making playlists.
Oh, yes,
And so
please.
then I might have an idea, like we're going to work extra on hips today.
Yeah.
And it just comes to me in the moment. I might have it lined up before class if it's something new that I haven't taught before. If I don't have a plan, I will often ask my students when they come in, hey, what do you want to work on today? And even though they're saying back or hips or things that like, it gives them the opportunity to feel like, oh, well, she heard me and she's going to do what I asked, or she's going to put extra like neck and shoulder stuff in for me. And it just builds that connection. So
It's important that you're willing to do that too, and that you can give people the autonomy to feel like they can ask for what they need.
yeah.
Giving permission, right?
Yeah,
To say what we need, which is, it's interesting as adults that we still look to other adults to get permission. And so I'm glad that they have a space to come to and do that.
Yeah. I think you have to be, working with private clients has helped me become more adaptable all around. Just having different sequences ready. And I'm always going to keep bringing it back to this one client. I love working with him, but there has been a lot of times where he might come in and be like, I don't really want to do that today. I have a migraine, or can we do something restorative instead? After that happening a few times, I'm like, I'm going to start just prepping two different kind of ideas. And I wouldn't feel comfortable with that necessarily as a brand new teacher, but over time, it's really nice to be able to adapt for people because it just builds that connection.
And do you find your one-on-one clients usually through a group class they attended, or folks who don't want to go to group class, but they still want to try yoga?
The ones that I've had so far have been through Cambio, and they will usually send out an email that somebody has reached out and wants to work one-on-one. One of my longtime clients just does not and knows they don't want to go to a public class. So they're pretty set in that, and that's fine. They like the one-on-one experience. I've had clients that just want to get to know the Cambio sequence. And so we have worked on the core sequence and what they might encounter in a class. Each studio has its own kind of things. There's a cue that everybody uses at Cambio called Surf It Out.
Okay.
Where when you do like a right leg lifts and then a low lunge, bend further into the lunge, extend to the right leg.
Ooh.
They just call that Surf It Out a lot of times.
All right.
Like you might cue it the first time, but you'll hear that a lot. And so I was just giving her all those little like tidbits so she can take the classes and feel comfortable, not like she's coming into a space where everybody's in on this cue that she knows nothing about. I think with the one-on-ones, it has been more of that, kind of breaking down the sequences and working with people just to get them ready for classes more often at Cambio, the clients that I've had. And I think that's why I wanted to do my own thing on the side too, just to specifically work more with people that are trying to heal from trauma.
With your trauma-informed training, where did you attend that?
That was at Cambio as well. It was in collaboration with Comeback Yoga. They are a organization that helps veterans get yoga classes. They offer veteran classes, and they did a trauma-informed training at Cambio. It was a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday training, and just learned like all the things about trauma-informed yoga. And I saw a lot of opportunity to think about things differently when you're teaching.
Yeah.
And how you can make your teaching, even in a public class, more choice-based, more safe. So it feels like that for everybody. And there was, of course, because it's a military organization, there was some like stuff to do with the military and how you could help them even more in classes. So
Great.
Yeah.
I'm sure it bleeds over also into all first responders, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Definitely. Firefighters, EMTs.
Oh, yeah. Anybody with a
Police.
lot of like PTSD or things like that.
I think languaging is so important, and it's one of my most favorite things, sincerely, about yoga is the way that certain teachers pick their languaging and cue and bring us back inward in a way that feels safe to go there. And it's not all about exercise either, right? We go to yoga for exercise, and that's okay. I think that's great. There's benefits there. And also, I think it's more about the integration of everything that we're doing in life and what the body's taking on for us. Would you agree? That's just my experience.
I definitely went to it though for fitness-based classes. That's where I started. And I'm going to admit this, the small town I came from, we only had a fitness-based hot style yoga class. I didn't know there were other gentler forms of yoga. It wasn't until I moved out here. There's yin yoga and restorative yoga and all these other wonderful things. When I started diving deeper into yoga, I started realizing things. So I'm working with my clients, for example. We might theme for the month around building boundaries, working on boundaries, an empowered yes or an empowered no, and how that can feel in your body and just settling into that feeling, like feeling in your body. And so, I mean, you are going inward in a sense. It's not maybe, and it depends on how much you want to get into the philosophy of yoga. There's definitely like the yamas and stuff that you could teach if you have a client that wants to get further into that. But if they don't, and they know they don't want to do like chakra work, or they don't want to get into the philosophy side of it, you can weave those things in without even saying that you're weaving them in. You know?
Right. Ooh, I like that you brought that up, because when we weave in these things that folks don't understand, I would say that it's all for their benefit and health, and that we're not violating any ethical boundaries.
Yeah.
But there are folks who are afraid of yoga because of kind of what you just said. We can weave these esoteric practices into the art form that is our yoga.
Yeah.
And also, we all have an esoteric body. We all are here having an experience, whether or not we agree on the path, but it doesn't have to be religious. And it doesn't violate any religious boundaries when we're doing that, right? We are just nurturing the light body. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say that. And because I mean, there's so much opportunity when you're working with different poses to theme, like heart chakra, but instead of saying heart chakra, and this was one of the trauma-informed things we talked about in the training, was that some people might not like the word chakra. Some people might not like the Sanskrit. Instead saying rest pose, or instead saying, we're going to work today on just self-love, self-compassion, and then theme throughout class around that, and not bring up some of those yogic philosophies. So
I understand. And I think that it's great to make it palatable for folks who really need to sit on their mat.
Yeah.
And need guided there in a way that feels comfortable for them. And I appreciate that you've cultivated that skill set and that you're offering that one-on-one, because for folks who have experienced trauma, finding a new way to have a relationship with their body is so important. And it sounds like you're able to do that in your one-on-one offerings.
Yeah, I hope to. That's the goal. It has been a really lovely and amazing experience to get to cultivate that and offer that environment. And I love the opportunity to get to know somebody. And I try to make that really clear in the beginning, that you are welcome to let me know at any point whenever you don't want to do something. Or sometimes we'll even talk about certain poses or things like yoga philosophy. Do you want to learn more about that? Because I can weave that into our sessions. Or would you rather not? Do you want to keep it more just fitness based? I'm willing and adaptable to anything, really.
Meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
It's not something that everyone can do. So thank you. I'm curious, because you're a mother like I am. How has it been for your kiddos to witness you becoming a yoga teacher?
I think it has benefited our family greatly. I practiced yoga for several years before I became a teacher.
Okay.
But I think it wasn't getting into the deeper layers of things. Once I started teaching, one of my mentors said that yoga will just kind of seep into all the cracks in your life, and it really has. And adapting a lot of the practices and being consistent with the practices has helped me stay regulated, respond better, not be so reactive.
Sure.
And I mean, my little one is just like my little yoga baby. She's 5, and I do this thing when I'm nervous. Well, not even when I'm just nervous. When I'm standing and I might be talking to someone in a conversation, and I'll automatically go into tree pose when I'm standing there. Like I might just have my legs in a tree pose. And so it's funny to see that my youngest does that now. When she's talking to people, she'll just be standing in tree pose. And it's like,
maybe balancing the channels.
they have a kids yoga class at Cambio that they offer in the warmer summer months, and they like to go to that. My little one, she loves it. So
That's cute.
yeah, it's been the best decision for my family, for sure.
One of the things that came to mind for me is the studies that you're doing right now. You're already nurturing people in such a way with these one-on-one offerings and the group settings. And that's an art form too, holding a community space in a group that you can count on to show up for your offerings and that look forward to it each week. And now you're going just even deeper into how you can start serving the community. Can you give us some insight into your education?
Along with my 200 and 300 hour trauma training, I've also done a mindful eating training through Yoga Renew, and I am back in school. I'm finishing out my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I'll go on to get my master's to be a trauma-informed therapist is the goal. Part of the reason why the website is just Brittney Fusion. I'd like to keep it more general so it can umbrella over everything, hopefully, at some point.
Because the person that you are in the space that you can hold isn't going to change. You're just continuing to deepen your education in ways that you can hold people in other different ways too, which is great.
The hope is to offer all these tools to clients at some point and work with people. I love that. And I love that about being out here in Colorado, that you can go and find a coach or a therapist or someone to work with that offers different modalities and different things. And it's not just one cut and dry type of therapy. There's different things that you can utilize out here to heal and grow.
Agreed. We have an eclectic bunch out here.
Yeah, we do.
I wouldn't want it any other way. It's really great. And I'm glad that you're a part of that. When you discovered yoga, it was in Illinois, and you shared with us that it was a fitness-based class. But do you remember a moment, or even if it was tree, that you took with you that you're like, this changes the game for how I feel inside?
Oh, yeah. The very first class I went to was a hot power fusion class, and it was actually in somebody's attic in their house. We didn't even have an official studio space in this town.
That would be hot.
It was actually a beautiful old Victorian home with like wood floors and wraparound windows, so it was amazing. But I do remember the thing that sticks in my mind is leaving and feeling so just like release, like just that feeling of I just sweated out everything I'd ever held on to. Was amazing.
Yeah.
I just became obsessed with yoga at that point and practicing yoga. And yeah, I don't know a specific pose though. I really loved Happy Baby. The final part of half pigeon has always been one of my favorites. Those kind of surrendering poses at the end after you just sweated so much.
Yeah.
Just softening into those poses was just such a relief.
Yeah. I share that with you. I think my very first class actually was at Lifetime here in Colorado Springs at a morning class. And it kicked my butt. But I joke that that's the first time that I really talked to God, was in Shavasana. Because everything was finally quiet. All of the chatter, the stress, the release that you talk about is so real, because this meditation thing that people talk about all the time, right? It doesn't have to look like sitting still and being silent. To me, in the very beginning, it was a kick your butt vinyasa flow class, until I also learned different and better that there are better ways that we can treat our body. And I still love a good vinyasa flow class with an instructor that is mindful in timing and et cetera, but there isn't anything quite like really being clocked in. And I admit, Brittney, gentle is hard for my brain. It is hard for my brain. And I think that's why I probably need it the most. Do you have people like that come to you?
Yeah, I think though that once you take my class, you realize that I love what I love, and I still like taking vinyasa classes just to clear that up. I don't want to make it seem like I'm knocking on vinyasa, but I love the breath and flow matching that movement. So I do try to incorporate as much of that as I can into class with the movement, just because you can get into that meditative nature when you're doing that throughout class. I think it's enough movement that people aren't sitting still, like yin or restorative, for those people that really struggle with sitting in those poses. And then you're still matching your breath with your movement enough to where you can get into that meditative nature and access that as well. I think it's just a really good sweet spot in between those styles of yoga.
It is something that I can now recommend to people who are struggling with meditation, because I wanted to give up on that thought. At a certain point in time of life, I just was not in a space that sitting down and even listening to a guided meditation was helpful. Moving my body was necessary in order to be able, there's probably neuroscience behind this, to be able to get to that flow state and to leave everything behind, have a release. Yes, work the body, but more so work out that stress I've been holding on to. It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
What do you tell people who come to you that tell you the number one excuse, I just don't have time?
I would tell them that instead of creating time like 20 minutes a day or 20 minutes a couple times a week, just like 1 minute a day. Yeah. 1 minute. Just stop, go sit in the sun, put your feet on the ground, just center yourself and breathe. Find some breathing exercises and just breathe. Just start very, very small, and you can find the time for 1 minute. You just have to make it over time. It gets easier. I was that person. Exactly. I didn't have the time, but also didn't like long meditative practices. I was very inconsistent, wasn't able to have a consistent practice. And that was the best thing for me, was just to start as small as possible. Even if it's 30 seconds. If you can do that and remember to do that a few times a day, and then over time it compounds and it's helping more than you know. I started noticing that the most with my kids and my patience and my tolerance to respond better, to not react. And I don't think it was, because before I was going to yoga twice a week and I was going hiking once a week. I was getting out and doing things, but it wasn't enough, because once a week is not the same as 10 times a day taking 30 seconds to just ground. And I think that's what helped me the most.
I think that this gets brought up in so many interviews that I sit down in that I can't avoid bringing it up. But this principle, and I'm going to butcher it, of Bhavashana, the act of continuously redirecting the mind. And that's what you're talking about, is a gentle way to start redirecting the mind out of chaos and turmoil and all the vrittis and just back to, what's the breath doing right now? And if we just start to ask ourselves some questions and check in like we would with a friend, holy cow.
Yeah, yeah. I think I work on that a lot with clients as well, noticing what's going on in their body. So over time they can feel more comfortable in their body. And that was through learning myself. I love loud music and I love concerts and I love a lot of sound. But for some reason, when my kids are making a lot of sound and they're banging on things or yelling at each other and arguing, I feel activated. Immediately my body like tenses up and I feel activated. And I used to react to that. And now I stop and I ask myself, why? Where is that reaction coming from? Why am I feeling activated right now? And a lot of times it's, have I taken a break? Have I eaten a snack? Have I gone to the bathroom and gotten a drink? Have I gone outside? Has the sun touched my skin today? You know, am I tired? Like, is it really the noise, or is it just that I haven't taken care of myself today? And those things, they do matter. And it's just, again, it's that building that consistency over time.
And the permission, going back to that.
Yeah.
Because as mothers, as entrepreneurs, as friends, partners, all of it, checking in with yourself and just saying, oh yeah, probably if I ate, I could focus a bit more on this thing that would take half the time. But we don't give ourselves that permission. We tell ourselves that we have to grind harder, we just have to push through. And I think yoga allows us a space to come into and to start recognizing that that's fake. That this programming, if you will, or the societal constructs that have been placed upon us, they're all fake. They're just fake. Let it go. Drop it. It's okay. And I think it's really healthy for our kids to see us find new, better ways to cope real time too.
Yeah.
Because they know that they're making the noise and they're doing the things. And I think just mom to mom, like they have the drumstick and you're the drum. It's just they know how to get the beat.
You bought them the drumsticks.
And you bought them the drumsticks, absolutely. And they only have the one because they lost the other, you know. But they know how to rack our nerves, and it's because we're so closely tied to them, and we want so badly for everything to be perfect for them. But showing them how we cope in our imperfectness, I think, is so beautiful. It will allow them to, as adults, be like, all right, today's hard. And adults have hard days.
Yeah.
And this is what we can do.
Yeah. And I think, too, like, going back to the thing about society and letting go of all that, is that it's still okay to work hard, but you have to find a place where you can learn your body and know what you need to get through in a healthy way. And I think for so long, being part of in the medical field, especially, you are kind of programmed to just push through and not take breaks and not eat lunches and stuff. And it's so hard on your physical and mental health, and just learning what you need and building that trust, because we're such complex, smart beings, and Our brains know when we're not building trust with our body. When we're pushing through and we're saying, oh no, you don't get a break. You don't get to go to the bathroom right now. Like, keep going. It's just amazing how once you start implementing those things, you feel so aligned and just in tune with yourself.
I also think that when we start giving ourselves permission to breathe and to change and to grow, that others around us might feel either uncomfortable or we might inadvertently give them permission to do the same. And I think that normalizing feeling our bodies, checking in with ourselves, and making sure that we're putting our oxygen mask on first is really important as caregivers of any kind. And I think that I'm just still impressed that there are nurses in America after COVID.
Right.
I'm so impressed that thank you all. I
Yes,
really thank
yes,
you.
Yes.
I have a friend who's a nurse, and it's just incredible to me that, yeah, you're kind of demonized if you take the potty break
Yeah.
the once out of 2 times a day. It's
Yeah.
insane.
And it's more when you're behind in clinic, or I'm sure I never worked in a hospital setting. I worked in an orthopedic surgical clinic. But when you're behind, patients want to get seen and they're in pain, and you want to put your needs aside to make sure they're getting seen and taken care of first. As parents, we do that often as well, where we put our child's needs first, or caregivers. And I think just getting into the habit of not doing that and taking your needs first, and then you can be a better caregiver.
Agreed. Yeah, and caregiver burnout is a thing. And finding those 30 seconds doesn't have to be in the middle of a perfect sunset that you drove 20 minutes towards without the kids because somehow magically everything's all taken care of for you. I think for me, the biggest change has come in when the noise is happening in the background instead of having a reaction like you described and just stopping, taking a breath, checking in, like, is anybody getting murdered? No. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is anybody dying? Should I have to call anyone? No. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to the point now with my kiddos' ages that they'll get into light arguments. There's nothing physical, but letting them work it out themselves. Oh.
Yeah, I'm doing that as well. I noticed that for a long time, I obviously have control issues, and I intersect myself as the leader in everything, like to micromanage. And I've been removing myself from that. They're 5 and 10, though. My 10-year-old has gotten a lot better lately, and just kind of realizing that she is 5. So she's obviously going to lash out sometimes. But I used to get involved all the time. Now I try not to, because, yeah, it's kind of, they need to work things out on their own sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's been nice. It feels like less on me.
I agree. I understand that completely. Just to bring it back home to yoga, I think that there isn't a better modality to approach, to heal yourself, to feel yourself, and just like to get to know how to check in with yourself if you've forgotten how. Because as caregivers, and you have littles, mine are a little older now, but when they were at those tender ages, oh my gosh, you're right, there wasn't a me. And it's really good that we can be adult enough to know when we can't prioritize ourselves.
Yeah.
But giving ourselves the permission to gently check in is just so huge, not to be redundant, but I can't emphasize it enough for people who haven't given it a shot.
Yeah, or have that mentality of, I'm going to work through this. It's such a strength in so many ways to put others first when you're in those caregiving professions or roles. But at the same time, yeah, getting out of that mindset sometimes to take care of yourself is very vital to your own mental and physical health, which is just hard. It's hard to retrain the brain and the body. But I do think yoga is the perfect segue. I really try to emphasize this with anything that I do, that I'm not a healer. I don't fix things. It's up to whoever I'm working with to heal themselves. But I think yoga is just a really amazing, supportive container to do that. And it pairs very well with other, obviously I'm very into therapy, so it pairs well with that. Other modalities, Reiki, or all the things. Anything that you can really experience. It's taken a lot of different things for me to heal. So yoga wasn't a fix-all, but it was definitely the door and has been just the thread for me throughout my whole growth and healing process. It's been what has grounded me and kind of carried me through.
I share that with you. I do. Yes. It's funny you mentioned the door because that's Yoga Home's logo as a door.
Yeah, I saw that on there. Right.
And yeah, the fact that I ended up there at such a tender time of life is no coincidence. In my own belief, if people feel called to come and see you, if they heard something on this podcast today, does Cambio do virtual at all, or do you do virtual for folks who aren't local to Colorado?
Yeah, I do virtual online classes. Yeah, one-on-ones or through my 12-week mentorship program. And Cambio also has virtual classes. You can sign up and do classes where you're in the class as well.
Let's talk more about your mentoring program.
Yeah, sure.
Is that for folks who are learning yoga for themselves or practicing?
It's more of a deeper container for support with people who are trying to heal and grow. So it's going to be adaptable to the person. Say somebody came to me and had been suffering from an eating disorder for a long time and had various forms of trauma, and they're in their kind of growth and their healing. They're wanting to use some of these tools to help. I would format that for them. There's 5 steps within the program.
Okay.
And each one's going to be different. The first one would be more of kind of building safety, a safety toolkit, more quick and accessible grounding practices, education, and then it would go into kind of more, each phase is going to have custom yoga flows that kind of go along with their program, guided meditations, education, a lot of nervous system education. But if it was somebody who was dealing with something like that, the guided meditations and the theming throughout would more focus and center around that. That's why I did the mindful eating training, and I got a lot of my tools from that training to work with people in that nature. But yeah, it's adaptable and customized to the person. And we would work through each step. They would get a one-on-one call each week, and then all those kind of customized tools and focus really on building those accessible practices that they can incorporate to give them a head start into their journey.
Is that a recurring offering? Are you rolling that out soon?
Yeah, it's out. I have it on my website and on social media, so the offering is out there.
Yay. All right, cool. We'll make sure to link the ways that folks can get in touch with you below, of course, in this video. And also, if there's anything that we haven't covered today, Brittney, that I forgot to mention or that we didn't cover in a way that you were hoping to, please let me know.
I don't know if I mentioned that I primarily work with women. I do have one male client. So if the energy and the vibe was right, then I would certainly take on another. But my focus is working mostly with women. And eventually I hope to work with younger women or adolescents just to hopefully get some of these tools in their hands sooner. I often think about if somebody had came and mentored me or given me a lot of these tools when I was in my teens or early 20s, how that could have helped. I had a lot of unprocessed, just undiagnosed trauma and things going on from childhood, and I really started seeing big transformation and growth when I started implementing all these things. That's my goal, and my kind of dream is to help young women.
That is huge. I wish that there was somebody like you when I was in high school. I agree, it's a tender time. And having a safe adult that actually cares to check in and give you a couple tools is really important. I support your goal, and I hope that I can continue to support you as you grow towards stepping into the community in a new way. But you're already out here doing big things, and you're already making huge impacts, so let's not undermine that. And I just think that anybody who has the opportunity to land in your class is going to have a good day. One of those golden Colorado days. That's a green light, right?
Yeah. It's a great book about Matthew McConaughey.
I know, and I didn't mind his voice either. I think my favorite part of that book was when he was floating down the river naked in the jungle. Just that freedom that he talks about and the autonomy that he gives himself. Coming back to the permission.
Yeah.
We only get to enjoy this ride as much as we allow ourselves to, right?
I love that he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but that he wishes he would have given himself permission to fail more. and to take more risks. And as you're reading this book, I'm like, he took a lot of risks.
Okay,
Like,
exactly.
Wow. And so I'm like, I need to step it up. I need to take more risks.
I think you are. I don't think that people understand the risk that it feels like to be seen, to put yourself out in the public eye, and to allow people to form an opinion on you for the sake of hoping that you reach the people who actually need you. So you're taking big risks. We are together here today, and hopefully those who need to find you will.
That's the goal, and that's what it's about, is finding the right clients to work with. I'm much more intentional about who is around me the older I get, and reaching the right people who want to work together. That's really important.
Well, thank you for what you do. And for those who want to come and see Brittney at Cambio or work with her one-on-one or through her virtual offerings, we'll make sure that we have all of those links below. And I hope that you'll be seeing much more of Brittney in the future. This has been an amazing conversation. Thanks for making it easy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Until next time.
Yes.